We have been talking about this for months, and we're finally here. It is NFL draft week. Super, super excited, super, super ready. We are going to give you the official my guys of every position in this 2025 NFL draft class here today. So without further ado, Browns 3D on the OBR starts now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the OBR is brought to you by State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. It has been a long 4-month journey to finally get here to the 2025 NFL Draft. Everything kicking off, of course, Thursday night from Green Bay, Wisconsin. All of us here at the OBR appreciate all of the support throughout the offseason, the Myles Garrett saga, free agency, the draft process, whether it was reading the written content daily over at the OBR, becoming an insider over at the OBR, or being a part of the nightly streaming network here on the OBR. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube as we are closing in on 8,000 subscribers. And of course, subscribe over on Twitch and make sure to join us as we will be streaming all draft long Thursday night, Friday night, and of course, all of Saturday. Browns did make a move today. Browns signed veteran cornerback Nick Needham, formerly with the Miami Dolphins. Now, Needham, kind of a feel-good story, undrafted free agent. When he got to Miami, I guess it was about 17, 18, 19, there were some really, really poor Dolphin teams, certainly led by Coach Brian Flores at the time. A bunch of no names. And the one thing though is Flores got every one of these guys, basically to play above themselves. Needham over the last couple of years has been getting over an Achilles injury. He has certainly a ton of experience playing special teams. So the Browns right now, with 6 cornerbacks on the roster, who could certainly be a part of the opening week 53. And right on cue, here we are at NFL Draft Week, and yet again, we will have Greg Newsome's name and possible rumors to be traded. Um, you know, Before, during the 2025 NFL Draft. If you put trade rumors into dollar amounts, Greg Newsome would probably be one of the highest paid players in NFL history. We do this every year. Whether or not Greg Newsome could be traded is something I kind of struggle with. Greg is going to be playing on his 5th-year option, so certainly the contractual amount for the 2025 season is a large number. Greg, at times, has really played well for this team his rookie year. His 3rd year, when he basically became entrenched as the nickel guy, had that pick 6 against Baltimore, which basically, was capping off, which was a huge, game, ended up being a game-winning rally for the Cleveland Browns. Martin Emerson in the same scenario for the Browns at a much cheaper dollar amount, final year of his contract. It always seems they mention Greg Newsome, but they never actually mention Martin Emerson. For me, it would seem the teams might have more interest in Emerson, who would be at a lower dollar amount, and still just getting 1 year to make a decision on whether or not you would choose to extend the relationship. But right as rain, Greg Newsome, again, with his name put into possible trade talks here ahead of the 2025 NFL draft. As I said, we're going to go, the my guys. And look, this could be a guy who's rated high. It could be a guy who's rated in the middle rounds. Could be a guy rated well into day 3. Guys I like and kind of the area for the Browns where they would fit in. As we all know, it looks like pick number 2 for all intents and purposes, is solidified down to one of 2 players. The consensus would be that it's Travis Hunter. The wise folks like myself would tell you that Abdul Carter would be a much better selection at that point. So those are maybe names that you're not necessarily going to hear just now, of course. The quarterback position, and we'll take it, offense, defense by positional groups. The quarterback position, and I think for me, it's kind of really down to just a couple of names at this point. Jaxson Dart, certainly a name that we have bantied about a bunch here over the last few months. Jalen Milroe as well. I know a lot of you are not as high as me. Um, on Will McCord, and that's fine. I get it, and I'm more than okay with that. First time I was, not first time I've standed on an island, and of course, a lot of you being Ohio State fans, I understand where maybe McCord may not be your flavor. Will Howard certainly somebody that I believe the Browns have some interest in, and it works both ways. You could like the player, of course, that Will Howard is, but also for a team that is trying to get everybody to just basically just have the name Deshaun Watson evaporate for your mind, bringing in the kid who just led Ohio State to a ridiculously solid playoff run, winning the national championship. It's a real sly way, in my opinion, for the Browns to bring in a possible quarterback of the future, but also one who's got some local ties and what he did, and for fans to, certainly forget about, the past 3 seasons and the trade of Deshaun Watson, which certainly just never, ever even came looking close to reaching what it was worth that the Cleveland Browns gave up in that trade. If it's Howard, it could be pick 104. It could be pick 94. Certainly, that would be the case for me from McCord as well. But as we're here, and for me, and thinking, kind of trying to put myself in the way the Browns look at things, the way the Browns do things, you've got to look at Jalen Milroe. And knowing that there's a relationship with Tommy Reese, and not trying to poo-poo that like it has to be the be-all end all. Um, the athletic traits, the incredibly strong arm, the ridiculous foot speed, the open field running ability, which could just bring another added and needed element to this Cleveland Browns offense. You really think that there's a spot here where the Browns and Jalen Milroe are going to connect. Obviously, it is around that number 33 overall pick. Could it be going up a little bit? Could it be staying at 33? Certainly all things to watch and see how they play out. But Jalen Milroe and the Browns certainly appear for me like this is going to be something that's probably going to happen. So, my guys here for the Browns would be Dart or Milroe in this pick 33 scenario. Sorry, guys. The Sanders train left the building for me a long, long time ago. Will Howard, McCord, certainly guys that if it doesn't work out in the scenario that you could end up with Dart or Milroe. Now the running back position, and again, this class is fantastic. This class has players in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, and even seventh round, all who certainly would be capable players and performers in the NFL at the running back position. Ashton Genty is a fantastic player, a ridiculously good player. Love his game. Not a chance in the world that he and the Cleveland Browns are going to connect. I kind of feel the same way about Hampton. Certainly, Travion Henderson probably is out of that equation as well. I don't think the Browns, in my scenario, the Browns are going to be looking at running back at pick 33. It would be most likely, hopefully, something at 67. Could a Kaleb Johnson be had at 67? Could it be a Quinshawn Judkins, a guy that you could have at pick 67? I think with Judkins, the one thing and a little hesitation I have is he certainly ran a faster 40 time in Indy than it appears like he has on tape, but he's physical. He gets through tackles. He's a guy that you have no question that you can give the ball to 20 carries a game and get the production you're looking for. He's going to take a pounding. He's going to give a pounding. Nice looking running back in that regards. I'm not on the Cam Scattaboo train. Fun player, great college player. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to translate into the NFL the way that people want it to. Um, for me, a sleeper, Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. His first 2 years down in Stillwater were really, really solid. The deeper you get into it and people you talk to, Ollie Gordon was carrying a higher body weight in 2024 than he had carried the 2 years earlier at Oklahoma State. Certainly didn't help. It wasn't his best showing in 2024. But if you get Ollie Gordon back under that 230 range, get him closer to that 225 range, 220 range, that he was when he excelled his first 2 years, that would be probably more of what you're looking for. So don't discount a guy like Ollie Gordon. Dylan Sampson, and this would maybe be pick 104. I've talked about him a ton. I think he runs bigger than he actually is. He finds a way to navigate traffic in between, in between the tackle box at linebackers, defensive line, finds that way, has the burst ability to take it to the house. Dylan Sampson certainly for me was one of the more impressive players on the Tennessee offense this past season. and a guy I think that really, really could match up well, certainly, with the Cleveland Browns. Devin Neal from Kansas. Devin Neal, the thing that you kind of like about Devin Neal is once he goes into the NFL, he doesn't have to be the guy anymore. He doesn't have to be the man anymore of his offense. He basically did it all at Kansas. And no disrespect, he did and did do it well. But you put him into an NFL offense where you're going to have a more proven quarterback, more proven receivers, some actual help as well within the running back room. And I think Devin Neal is a guy that's really going to surprise as opposed to where from he's drafted to the actual production you are going to get from him. We cannot do this without mentioning my guy for the entire draft cycle, and that's Lequint Allen. If you like Trevion Henderson because you think there's a guy that can run the ball, a guy that's capable in pass pro, a guy that can contribute as a receiver, well, a few rounds later, probably 4, if not 5 rounds later, a guy like Lequint Allen Jr. out of Syracuse is that type of guy. He ran for over 1,000 yards. He had 60 receptions. He's good in pass protection. This is a guy that would be going probably a round or 2 higher in a different running back class. But this year, with so many good running backs, there's guys who unfortunately are just going to be missed because of the depth of the class. It's a tough situation to be in. It's going to cost these guys some money. It is what it is. But you're going to get guys in either the late round 6 or round 7 that you actually might be able to count on week 1 to contribute in your backfield. Two other names to watch: Phil Maffa, Clemson, bigger back. You might want to take a couple pounds off of him. And Donovan Edwards from Michigan. Let's not kid ourselves. Donovan Edwards was one of the brighter names thought of here in college football. And for now, where he's sitting to go late day 3, you're getting a guy that probably can help right away, certainly can catch some passes for you. Donovan Edwards, running back, Michigan. We're going to continue on here. We will get to the wide receivers. We will get to the tight ends. We will certainly, of course, get to some offensive tackles. I'm not looking guard. I'm not looking center in this draft for the Browns. So, everybody, do me a favor, stick around. We'll continue to give you the my guys of the 2025 NFL draft. I'm excited to introduce and reintroduce and thank from the bottom of our hearts everybody here at the OBR, State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights. They have been kind enough to have been sponsoring with us here since January for the entire off season. It's been a great relationship for us, and we're really, really thankful for them. So if you're local to Cleveland, they are your one-stop shop for all things lawn equipment. Listen, you want to spend your Sundays watching the Browns, not cutting your grass. Let the guys at State help you get your weekend back. They specialize in both residential and commercial equipment for Toro, the brand professionals have counted on for more than 100 years. Whether you're looking for a new, dependable time cutter zero turn, genuine Toro replacement parts, or expert service from experienced technicians who keep your mower in peak condition, State has got your back. They are veteran owned. The Kane family are lifetime Clevelanders. They are lifetime Browns fans, and they are proud supporters of all of us here at the OBR. Again, if you are local to Cleveland, State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights is your hometown team for all your lawn equipment needs. All their info can be found at statesharp.com. That is STATESHARP.com. Rounds 3D on the OBR. And of course, we appreciate all of you for all the support here throughout the draft process, whether it is reading the written content or coming on out for the OBR streaming network at night. Browns 3D starting at 6 o'clock. Today is Monday. You will get Quincy Carrier afterwards. You will get Jacob and Sam after that talking draft prospects. It is draft week, and we are going to feed the masses and give you all exactly what you are desiring. We are going through the my guys here of the 2025 NFL draft class. I've gone quarterbacks. I have gone running backs to this point. We're probably just going to get to offense in this episode. I'm going to just continue to preface this. Everything's kind of set in stone now. And like everybody always tells you, don't believe anything. Well, now's the time. Everything could mean something and nothing could mean something. So it's really, really an interesting part and time here as we lead up to Thursday. Things get leaked or they're fake and they're purposely have them leaked. There's just so much going on, certainly for every team trying to maneuver and find a way to best assemble their team through this 2025 NFL draft. The wide receiver group for me is interesting, and it's kind of simple. It's, because if it is, in fact, Travis Hunter at 2, and here's where I think some of you are certainly differing from me. If it is Travis Hunter at 2, we're not conversing about his dual threat ability. Travis Hunter will be a wide receiver year 1, at least, just a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. You understand that there are still some things that you hope Travis can reach in his play at the wide receiver position. And some of that probably was dwarfed by playing both ways at Colorado. And so if you want to get the ultimate out of Travis Hunter, it is not in him playing both sides of the ball. It is him staying at wide receiver. It is him fine tuning, honing, mastering his craft day in, day out, focusing on nothing but being a wide receiver. The selection of a wide receiver at number 2 overall doesn't happen quite often. And since 2000, there have only been 5 wide receivers that were drafted either number 2 or number 3 overall. 3 of those 5 first ballot Hall of Famers. So if you were going to take Travis Hunter this high, you are hoping and you are doing it with the understanding that the hope, the expectation is that he would be yet a second guy from Andrew Berry's lips that would maybe one day be going from Cleveland to Canton. This is what your thought process is here. I'm not going to risk him on defense. You could throw him back there late in the game as a, play on the top of the roof as a safety. And I would consider it even more if he was 6'3" or 6'4". He's not perfectly sized. Listed at 188 at the pro day. Let's be honest, Travis Hunter plays closer to 180 than he does 190. I don't necessarily want him playing defense as much. We all have our concerns with Denzel Ward and his size, and obviously he takes some hits. And unfortunately, for a great a player as Denzel Ward is, he does miss some time. Well, I don't want a second corner. Denzel was drafted 4th. So I don't want to use a number 2 overall pick on a corner who's got maybe some of the same concerns at the defensive side of the ball as to the number 1 corner on my team already. It's just things I can't have. It's just things that will not line up in my brain. If Travis Hunter is indeed the selection at number 2 overall, it is wide receiver, and it is wide receiver only. If you want to go to this time in 2026, sit down, revisit it, see whether or not maybe there's a way or it works where you think you can have him maybe contribute a little bit more on the other side of the ball. That is fine. But Travis Hunter, if drafted at 2, comes in and he is a wide receiver and a wide receiver only in 2025. I want him to take hopefully even a greater step. And then what we saw on the tape from Colorado this past year as a wide receiver, which was pretty damn good. But the belief would be now focusing on just the wide receiver position, his talent, his overall skill, and just not having to spend so much time trying to study 2 things would just vastly improve. If it is not Travis Hunter, that's where things would certainly get interesting. Because if it's Hunter, I'm not drafting another wide receiver. But if it's not Hunter, guys I do like. It is really, really hard to look at the career of Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State and not be appreciated and not really appreciate him. Unfortunately, each and every year he was there, he was basically always the other guy. Every other wide receiver got more of the talk than Double E did, and probably hurts. It's got to be tough. But now's the part where he can maybe separate himself from the pack, and he can basically, plant his flag as far as, yes, I was an Ohio State receiver, but, I'm not just a former Buckeye. I am Emeka Egbuka. So does he make it to 33? I don't think so. But certainly, again, would not be whining at all if that were to happen. Luther Burden from Missouri. Now, this is one where there's times I want to love Luther Burden, and there's times where I have major concerns. Again, size, not in his favor. Hand size, not in his favor. Production, not in his favor, but you can't necessarily hold that against him. His 2023 tape was certainly more productive than his 2024 tape. A wide receiver class overall that just isn't up to standards as to years past. I don't know that Burden makes it to 33. If he does, and you didn't go Hunter early, he's certainly a name I have interest in. Um, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, there's things you'd want to see, and there's things you haven't seen yet from Trey Harris to this point. I'm always having an issue with guys like that because basically, I've used the line and we use it with Pete Smith all the time over the years is it's not about what I think, it's about what I can prove. So saying this guy should be able to do this and you have no physical proof on tape that he can, that's exactly the case. It's not what I think, it's what I can prove. I really, really like Jack Beck. It's a guy certainly that everybody's going to root for. The ridiculously and sad New Year's Eve incident that cost the life of his cost the life of his brother. The fact that Beck was on an LSU team as a freshman that had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and Beck was the leading receiver of that group, ended up going to TCU, certainly had a nice career out there. That is a guy I really look to in this wide receiver class, a guy I really, really kind of like within this wide receiver class. Ty Felton from Maryland is a guy I kind of like. I think he could really do some nice things. He's certainly gone under the radar throughout this entire draft class. So certainly somebody else that I am looking for. Also, Horton from Colorado State checks every box. Good size, good speed, good production. So don't be surprised if Troy Horton from Colorado State is a guy that somehow, some way ends up in a Cleveland Brown uniform because they always want guys who basically give you a bit of everything. And Troy Horton was certainly one of those guys who was able to do that at Colorado State. Now, the tight end position, you're going to take right off the bat, you're going to understand that Warren and Loveland are just not guys that are going to be within your wheelhouse. I think for the Browns, again, 67 is probably where you are looking for them to address the tight end position at the earliest. It won't be Loveland. It won't be Warren. It's probably going to be after Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor, just a baby, 20 years old, won't be 21 for a couple of weeks. Has the size, has the tape, has the athleticism, has NFL Hall of Fame bloodlines on both parts of his family tree. Special, special guy. And I just think that if the Browns and tight end are, looking at it at 67, it's just not really going to be an option. So what is an option in that 67 range? You're probably talking about three guys. Harold Fannin Jr. Ran a great three cone. Overall, he's just not that super athlete that you want at the position, but had production that absolutely blew you away. Former, defensive lineman in high school, transfer him to the tight end, transferred into the tight end position while at Bowling Green, took the opportunity and just absolutely became a star with it. Not ideal size, probably a guy that would be more of an H-back or a big slot, those types of things. But if you have any concerns about a guy like Harold Fannin Jr., yes, you could look at some of the athletics and size, and maybe that would give you some pause and hesitation. But when you fire up the tape and you just watch, this is a guy that knows exactly what he's doing. And you think taking a jump from the MAC to the NFL, it may take a little bit, but you would think those skills are going to translate. He will improve. And I've said before, I think you're talking about a guy, former Tennessee Titan, Delaney Walker. I do think that's the type of effect you could get from a guy like Harold Fannin Jr. Going to Helm, going to Helm, obviously the combine just went bad for him with the sprained ankle and just continued to work out through it. Absolute massive, impressive effort by his part to do all that. Certainly, being able to excel with Quinn Ewers, certainly for me, makes it think that, wow, well, let's see what he can do when he actually gets some, consistent quarterback play. Helm's certainly a possibility there. And then Elijah Arroyo's probably been my guy this entire time. And again, really liked what he did finally. And another guy, it was a struggle early, some injuries in his time at Coral Gables at the University of Miami. This year with Cam Ward, you see him play with a potential professional quarterback, and you saw the effect that a guy like Arroyo can have. He's been my guy this entire time. We will also mention here the Browns do have interest in him. They have met with him at pretty much every spot along the way. Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, and for a lot of people, they were calling him the tight end sleeper. The one tight end that doesn't seem to be getting the amount of talk that he deserves. And so keep an eye on that tight end as well. Browns certainly going to address it one way or another in this draft class. Now, offensive tackle, and this is kind of where it gets interesting. And we've certainly had these discussions between all of us here, at the OBR, through our Slack channels, through each other's shows. And, people, we'll take a tackle at 33. That's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. Um, my thinking is, Browns have three tackles right now. And ideally, between those three tackles, that's who the Cleveland Browns think are going to start this season. So if I'm taking a tackle at 33, how does this work? Am I forcing him in to play too early? Is he not going to get the amount of reps he deserves? Because if I do draft a tackle at 33, ideally you think that that tackle is ready to play this season. But if I already have three guys for two positions, am I looking for an immediate player? Um, Others here believe that's okay. Me, not so much. I think at 33, I can draft a player who can probably help this team more in the immediate future than maybe one who plays left tackle. Tackles I like are certainly guys that are going to be viewed as day three guys, whether it is a Charles Grant from William and Mary. Great looking prospect, showed well, certainly at the Senior Bowl. He is a guy that is going to need work, to become a starter in the NFL, and that is okay. It takes a little time, certainly takes some effort to go from playing the lower level competition because remember, going from a place like William and Mary to the NFL, you're not making one jump, you're making two. So for a guy like Charles Grant, I think it's certainly possible. When you watch Devin Neal at Kansas, one of the things that you became kind of impressed with was left tackle Logan Brown from Kansas. Um, Physically checks the boxes, size, weight, length, everything you would look for in a left tackle. Certainly, not a day one starter with the NFL, but the skills, the athletic ability certainly could translate to a guy that could start in the NFL. Again, this would be a day three guy. There's another guy also from North Carolina State, Anthony Belton. He is a guy, and maybe not as athletic as the first two I'm mentioning here, but rugged, played against some tougher competition. This guy, you truly think, is a guy who could probably be an everyday, maybe right tackle, not necessarily left tackle. But you get to the league, you go to the position you've always played, and then you try to figure it out from there. So Belton from North Carolina State, certainly a guy that intrigues me. And one last one, and I have mentioned him a ton up until this point. 6'7", 300 and change, Alabama A&M. Carson Vincent played 50 games in college, so he certainly got the tape for days. Size checks out as well. Again, huge jump in competition from going where he was playing against as opposed to now playing in the NFL. So it's not something you're just going to say, oh, we're going to draft this guy, after 175, and all of a sudden, this guy is going to be somebody that's going to contribute right away in the NFL. Probably not going to happen, kids. And you understand that. But 6'7", 316, got everything you're looking for. May take a little time. And look, you have to start putting some emphasis here on these assistant coaches to start developing more players. You can't buy everything every year. The Browns have shown you can buy everything if you want to. But the point of it all is if you're drafting these guys, there's got to be at some point where, the expectation is I gave you a guy who checks everything, maybe not exactly the experience or going against the competition level that you expect. Well, that's your job. Now you got to get him a little bit quicker. You got to get him to drop in his stance a little bit better. You got to get him to sink his ass a little bit better. All of those things are things that now have to be put on coaches. You have five, 6 day three selections this year for the Cleveland Browns. This coaching staff is going to be held accountable to develop some of these guys on day three and eventually get these guys from day three draft choices to guys who either contribute a good amount or in fact do end up being starters for the Cleveland Browns. We're getting closer and closer here, of course, to Thursday night, kicking it all off. And again, it's just been great getting back into covering the NFL draft as a whole. The Browns certainly have taken that away from us all here over the last few years. Only one selection in the top two rounds in the last three drafts. It's tough. As fans of the draft, as fans of this team, it's really difficult. This year has reminded me how much I enjoy covering the NFL draft process, basically getting back into it to cover basically every guy from number one on the board to the guys down in the 300s, getting to know them, getting to watch them a little bit, getting to, understand where they win, understand maybe a little bit where they lose, where they're good, where they need help. It's really been a fun ride. And, again, basically, re-whet my appetite towards the NFL draft. Again, we appreciate everybody who's been coming out to the OBR every single day, whether it is reading the written content, whether, of course, it is coming out every evening here for the OBR streaming network, whether it's on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, or the OBR over on Twitch, make sure you just subscribe. Starting every night with Browns 3D. Then, of course, Monday night, you'll have Quincy Carey after me, and then you'll have Jacob and Sam after that as well. So we appreciate everybody. For all the support that you have given us here over the last 4 months. 4 months, it's been an outstanding ride. Browns 3D and the OBR has been brought to you by State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. We appreciate them as well. Um, just continue to come back to the OBR again, whether it's written content you're looking for, whether it is the nightly streaming network on the OBR. Just we're going to bring you everything we can. We will be live streaming the entirety of the 2025 NFL draft Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday. So certainly pop on in, come see us, spend a little of the NFL draft with us. It will be an absolute blast. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR, and we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.